Hello and welcome to the second week of So Yellow for Endo. I am delighted and privileged to be joined by So Much to Say for our second live, actually, because you joined us last year. And yeah, I am delighted to have you back. It was so much fun last year talking so openly about our diagnosis and surgery and everything that it made complete sense to have another lovely chat. So welcome to the So Yellow for Endo Instagram live series for 2022.
Thank you for having me, Jess. It's a real pleasure to actually get my experience across to others, and it's so important to talk about it. And well, basically, 2019, I had major surgery. I had a full hysterectomy, I had a bowel resection, I had my bladder shaved, and I had adenomyosis and endometriosis. And it took me up until 2019, from my whole childhood, from 9 years old when I first started my periods. I've always had painful periods, and you know, it just got worse and worse and worse. I kept going backwards and forwards to my doctor, and you know, basically told to go on the pill, it's all in your mind, you know, periods pain don't exist, this, that and the other. Finally, it was getting to the point where it was affecting my bowel, and I could see a connection. Every month I used to have pain. It was horrendous pain, and also it used to affect my bowel. So I went to a baby 4D clinic that does screening for you know, women's problems, this, that and the other. And immediately she told me, it's adenomyosis, endometriosis, here's the scan results, take it straight to your doctor. From what I can see, it looks quite severe. So that's what I did. Within 6 months I was having surgery at the Lister Hospital by Mr. Ghazali, who is the internationally recognised endometriosis specialist. And he is amazing.
Well, for everyone watching as well, we have the same surgeon, which is really fun. And we only found that out through Instagram. So that is, it's not like we knew each other and then, yeah, this is really fun. He is fabulous. He's a wizard.
And so he's part of the BSGE, which is the British Society of Gynecological and Endoscopy. And that is really, they are the gold of any gynecological problems, really. But so that's where we were. Since then, I've been left in surgical menopause. And I can still say surgical menopause, endometriosis. Surgical menopause was still better than having the endometriosis,
which says a lot, really.
Yeah, but surgical menopause is severe. It's very severe. And again, so it's weighing up what is the right HRT for you, really, because obviously any form of hormone will actually fuel any endometriosis that's left. So it's taking that level, really, taking that balance.
Would you be able to explain, just because I know there'll be some people watching, could you explain what surgical menopause is?
Okay, so basically I went into hospital. The first, you know, had the operation, and I was immediately put into menopause. So immediately after my surgery, I was in menopause. So it is a medical surgical menopause, just like you would go through menopause, but it's not as natural. It's harsh. It's immediate as well.
So it's with the womb removed, and then
so I've had everything removed, my ovaries, absolutely everything. So so because I had both my ovaries removed, it sent me into surgical menopause. So I guess that's the kind of thing that I'm dealing with mainly, more than anything, and the fact that I did have 10 centimeters removed from my bowel, and I'd say my bowel has not got back to normal. So that, again, that's another thing that I have to deal with.
It's challenging because people think of endometriosis as just about periods, but it's not. It affects everything in your pelvic cavity. Like, you know, I've been undergoing pelvic physio for over a year, and it is my bowel that is still, it's just not playing ball, really.
No.
And it does, you don't think of it, you're like, oh well, it's fine, my periods aren't too bad, but it's that lasting effects as well to your body. It takes so long to recover.
That's it. Apparently the bowel just does not like being touched, and it takes well, I mean, you know, 2019 and it's still not back to normal, but I managed to get myself a bowel and bladder card, and so if I do need to make an emergency, I have this card that I can flash, and at least I can, you know, go somewhere. But you know, that's the whole thing that you have to deal with endometriosis. You think, you know, and it is, you have to live with it. There, you know, you just have to become a warrior. That's
true.
it.
It does.
And yeah, so
challenging condition.
yeah, but what I would say to everybody out there that has the slightest bit of symptoms is to get it sorted out now before it gets too late. And if my endometriosis was picked up many years ago at, you know, perhaps 9, 10, and when things were not spoke about back then at all in schools, and you know, it was, periods were a swept under the carpet subject. It was a taboo. And so, you know, you need to talk about these symptoms. You need to, if your doctor doesn't listen, get a second opinion, and keep banging on those doors, because you are your own advocate at the end of the day.
Yeah, and the thing is, what we would say is, you mentioned earlier the BSGE. It's really worth seeing if you can get that referral to a BSGE hospital, because a lot of GPs, with the best will in the world, they are general practitioners. And they don't have the expertise, or in many cases don't have the expertise to go, I'm looking at endometriosis, as is evidenced by the gentleman who was a very lovely GP that sent me to hospital with period pains, and I had kidney stones. But wow. You're a woman and you're in pain. It's probably right. It's not. It's fighting for that referral if you can get it. But of course, both of us appreciate as well, it's really like the emotional labor a gynecology diagnosis takes is intense. It's an average of 8 years, often a lot longer. Like, it's mad. It's maddening, isn't it, when people tell you, oh, it's probably this.
It is. And you know, if I hadn't have had to wait so long, it wouldn't have got so bad. I wouldn't have had to have, you know, 10 centimeters of your bowel removed, because, you know, the endometriosis had spread to the bowel wall. I had a nodule, and it was really, really big. And, you know, this was pressing against my bowel wall. And eventually it was stopping me from going to the toilet. Because it was getting so severe. And that's years and years and years of scar tissue. So I just, you know, I really can't stress enough to just, you know, to be your own advocate, and just keep banging on those doors until you get the, you know. I know it's a bit difficult these days, because obviously we've had COVID to deal with, and the waiting list is you know, horrendous to actually get seen. But you know, just keep persevering.
It's challenging. I think one thing both of us are able to talk a little bit more about as well is, and I get messages about this every year as well, there are some people who are looking at their options for treatment. Maybe you're in the diagnosis journey and they're worried about surgery. Now, there are so many different ways surgery can go, so we can't be exclusive in what we say, but I do think we represent quite good ends of the spectrum. So I had, for reference, I had excision surgery. So I had endometriosis taken off my, oh goodness, one of my ovaries, my bladder, my bowel, my ligaments, and like the outside of my womb, and the sort of muscle fold above my bladder, which is why I have lots of scarring now. Woo! So that's a fairly conservative surgery though for endometriosis. That's still a good 4 or 5 hours.
Yeah.
And then obviously you're on the upper end of surgical menopause, although luckily neither of us have had to have a colostomy or anything, which is also common.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't scare you, because I
No.
will hold my hands up and say, although the recovery from this was uncomfortable,
Mm.
my quality of life has soared. And I remember you saying
Absolutely.
last year there was a real sense of release.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The recovery, you know what, at the end of the day, the recovery is still a breeze compared to
It
some
really is.
months. It really is.
It genuinely is. There are
Yeah,
moments where in my recovery I went, you know what, this isn't great, but
yeah.
it's not unusual. Like, this
No,
is fun.
no. You know, I mean, I was given the usual meds, and also some really strong meds. And you know, Mr. Kazali saying to me, you know, every day will get better. And I was waiting for the really bad day, because it actually, you know, and that's what I said, you know, the
Yeah,
pain compared
what you
to
get
this is
used
a
to.
breeze. Yeah.
Do you know, my worst day of surgery recovery is when I sneezed, and my ovaries were like looped through my abdominal
Oh
wall so
no.
that they didn't like adhere to anything, and I sneezed and it used my whole abs, and that was the point at which I went, oh, this is awful. And then everything else was fine. Everything else around that point was okay. But
Yeah.
what top tips would you give if anyone's preparing for surgery or recovering, or is there anything, any insight, wisdom?
Um, First of all, go in surgery with an open mind, because, like you say, nothing will be set in stone. And you know, and it's not until you actually go into surgery what they actually find, because you know, endometriosis has got a great way of hiding itself on you know, MRI scans, and it's not until you actually go in for the surgery and see what they found. And you just really have to take it easy, really do take it easy, and just go in with a positive mind as much as possible. And you know, it can't get any worse than what it is
It's, yeah, that
now.
is a big thing.
Mm,
Definitely, like, it won't get worse,
yeah,
or
that's it.
majority of the
It will
time.
not. From then on, it can only get better. It really can. So yeah, that and yeah, as recovery, you really have to take it easy. You have to listen to what they say, and you know, every day will get better. And
I was really surprised by how tight, like, you know me, I'm a very busy person,
mm,
and I was astonished by how tired I was. I
yeah,
just never, like, I'd had surgery before for other things,
yeah,
but it was just, it was exhausting. The one
yeah,
piece of advice I'd tack on to the end of that is, while you will get better, do prepare for your first period after surgery. Ideally,
mm,
book the day off and just
mm,
let yourself rest, because you will have scar tissue. But I promise that period is not representative of your life post surgery.
future, yeah,
But yeah,
that's
it's
it,
worth, I wish
yeah.
somebody had told me that.
Yeah, well, in my case, I didn't have. That's it. End of
Oh,
periods,
yeah.
which is really, yeah. That was, to me, just, that's it. It's over. That's it. My fight is over, and it was. I had no choice, really. I had no choice. And my ovaries were, you know, they were everywhere. Well, one was stuck to the back of my bowel. The other one was, you know, they were a mess. And you know, and the pain in the bladder as well. That was before surgery. And you know, you'd wake up in the morning and go to the toilet, and the pain would be horrendous passing urine. And you know, this is all endometriosis. Just, you know, it's terrible what we still have to go through. And you know, every year it's getting better. People are getting more aware. um, but you know, there still isn't the research out there. They still don't know what causes it. And you know, there still is no cure. And that's really what we need to work on, is having a cure.
It is.
um,
It's that cure. And the other thing is, so it's quite appropriate we're doing this tonight, because I always think that women, you're either virginal and a child, or you're pregnant. And in both cases, you're weirdly public property. And then if you talk about periods or you talk about menopause, you are shunned. Why?
Mm, mm,
One of the biggest steps we can take is to just talk about it. It's
yeah.
not scary. Half of us have them. It can't
Yeah.
be. I listened to somebody on the way home tonight on the train fully talking on their phone and telling their partner about their ingrowing toe surgery. And I was like, dude, you can talk about that on a packed commuter train.
Yeah.
But if I turn around, I was like, God, I'm in period pain today.
Yeah.
People would literally move away.
Yeah, they would. Yeah, it's there shouldn't be a stigma. There really should not be, and it's got to end.
It
um,
does. It
you
really
know,
does.
that's it.
Do you
I mean,
think so? What are we now? 3 years on from your surgery, nearly?
nearly 3 years. Yeah.
Have you noticed overall, obviously, I know yours is a little different because of surgical menopause, but have you felt,
Mm.
has it been strange just never having periods again? Or has it been,
Um, yes. You know what? Being an endo warrior, it's really funny. It's really funny not having that monthly build up to a period and then afterwards, because you would get 1 week out of a whole month, and as I got towards near my surgery, I'd say it was every day throughout the month, and but not having that now, and not having that build up, which is, yeah, it's funny. It's yeah, it is funny not having a period. I must say, it's yeah, I feel really,
I'm
really
so
free,
glad.
and but like I say, I still do have the problems with bowel, and now I'm dealing with the hormone side of things. So that kind of, I suppose, because when you were ovulating, you had fluctuation of hormones, and you knew that that's okay. I'm feeling like this because I'm due a period. Whereas now I'm still trying to get used to that feeling. And actually, no, I'm not due a period. This is because I'm going through something else now. This is because I'm in menopause. So, I mean, I do have HRT,
Okay.
and I decided not to take it because I'm really bloated out. I've grown boobs as well. Like, everything's getting too small, which is a good thing.
Well, these are side effects no one tells you about, so it's worth knowing.
I know, just I've never had big boobs, so I'm celebrating that also. But yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to do it naturally, and I'm trying to not have any more hormones inside my body, because by that time I just about had enough. That's
Yeah,
it. They can
it's a lot. I mean, I would say as well to some people watching,
mm,
if you are struggling with pain and you've been told hormones, you have to try hormones, or try it, but remember, there's no pressure. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't mean you're broken. It doesn't mean, to give you an idea, I chose endometriosis pain over the side effects I was getting from the pill, because I went, you know
yes,
what, at least I know how to deal with that. It's
yes,
awful and I
that's
can't
right.
walk, but it's
That's
better
it.
than the crying and the
Yeah,
confusion and the bloating and the
yeah.
brain fog. And so
Mm,
for some people, hormones will work really well for them, but
yeah.
if that's not the option for you and you want to,
Mm,
for me, surgery was that's what I
yeah.
needed.
Hmm.
Don't be scared to pursue that. I went
That's right.
into a registrar's office and just burst into tears and went,
Yeah,
he was like, are you upset? And I said, no, I've been doing this every day for the last 2 months because
yeah,
progesterone hates me. And he just went,
yeah,
right, okay, well,
yeah.
we'll move on. But yeah,
That's right. It is progesterone. It's horrible, and that's the. I wasn't. I could never go on the pill anyway. It sent me crazy, and I tried so many different types, and that was it. But yeah, but I have to have the combined, because you have to have, with the estrogen, you have to have progesterone when you've got endometriosis,
you do.
because uh, estrogen actually fuels the endometriosis. So you have to have the progesterone to kind of balance
Yeah, it
balance
can
that
help
out.
to shrink
Yeah.
or at least manage it.
Mm-hmm.
And that is one of the reasons a lot of women with endometriosis are prescribed the Merino or the J disc coil.
Yeah.
And again, not knocking it, because I know that works for some people and it
Yeah.
works really well. But yeah, it is, it can be very challenging.
Yes.
And there is one thing I would love actually to hear your words on as a nice way to sort of round off. I had a message from a very lovely lady who is in her diagnosis journey.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, and I will keep her fully anonymous, but she said to me, she's like, I want to get involved, but I feel like I haven't been formally diagnosed yet. And I feel like a fraud and I feel like I can't be involved.
Oh,
And we've all been there. So I thought it would be
yes.
nice if we
Yeah.
can give some support.
Please, 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 you need to get involved. You need to talk about this. It's really important, and you're not a fraud. And that is why we have been made to feel a fraud all along. And don't, please, welcome to come along. And, anytime anybody wants to chat, they're more than welcome to. My inbox is always open, and no one is ever a fraud.
Well, they're not, especially if you consider a third of women have been told their symptoms were psychosomatic and then subsequently been diagnosed.
Yeah,
That's not to forget how long diagnosis takes.
that's
Like,
right.
if I could tell you anything right now, it's to own where you are,
Mm,
and whether that means saying, I'm owning my endometriosis diagnosis, or maybe you're not ready for that, and that's fine.
that's
But
right.
don't let anyone else make you feel bad.
No,
Is we
never.
have to fight hard enough as it is to
That's
get anyone
right.
to listen to female pain,
Exactly.
let
Hmm.
alone
That's
actually
it.
dealing with it.
That's right. That's it. You've got to. And another thing as well is education is the key. The more that you research and the more that you can actually go back and tell your doctor, I need to go here. This is what you need to do for me. I know how I'm feeling, and be confident. And you tell them as it is, because this is your body. You own
Yeah.
this.
And do you know
Yeah.
what? They'll let you do it with other conditions. I walk into the GP as a severe asthmatic and go, hello, here are my stats. I need this. And they go, yeah,
Yeah.
fine. Off you go.
Yeah.
So
That's
don't
it.
be scared of owning what you
No.
need. One little signpost I wanted to put at the end of this, because I've discovered
Hmm.
this and it's really exciting. If you've had surgery, you do
Hmm.
not have to get a referral for pelvic physio from your hospital. You can get it from your
Oh,
GP, and you can
okay.
literally just go in and say, I need a referral for this, and they'll just give it to you. They
Oh,
have
right.
to,
I never knew that.
because you've had surgery. But I cannot recommend pelvic physio enough post surgery.
Mhm.
It has changed. It's changed. I
Yeah.
mean, you'll have heard me speak about this in a live already by now, but
Mm,
seriously, go and get it if you're struggling with the
mm.
aftermath of surgery. It's beyond worth it. Did you ever have any, Kim?
No, no. I was given at the hospital. I had a physio come round and just give me a few exercises
Mhm.
to do. Especially that's really important. Is pelvic floor exercises. And no, I wasn't offered it. So
So, well,
right,
this is the thing. I didn't know I was
yeah,
allowed it, and then I went along to an Endometriosis UK online seminar, and there was a lady from the Royal Free there who went, "No,
okay.
you can just go and ask for it." So I did, and 2 weeks later, I have a lovely physio called Jodie who works with women with endometriosis, but she also works with people with colorectal cancer, people who've had stomas, all sorts of stuff. And we work, particularly as I've had bowel and bladder issues.
Mm.
It's been amazing, and
Ah,
it's honestly, I cannot recommend it enough, and it's never too late either. If you're
yeah.
still struggling, even if it's been a few
Okay.
years, or you
Yeah.
know even like after childbirth and stuff like that, fully recommend it, because
Mm.
if your body's been through the ringer, there's a
Yeah.
chance, your pelvic floor is an emotional space as well.
Yeah.
It's an emotional
Hmm.
muscle, so endometriosis can be quite traumatic for your body. I
It
say
can
quite,
be.
it is
Yeah.
traumatic for your
Well, it
body.
is. Yeah, it can be. It is. That's it. And well, that's really good to know. Do you find that helps your back? The physio.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would say, I mean, I'm still having some issues when I ovulate,
Hmm.
but chalk and cheese compared to this time last year.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's definitely. I also now have. I was able to access a dietitian through this as well, because I have a
Oh.
number of very severe food allergies, and that was all
Yeah.
done through the pelvic physio. She went, "I'm going to get you to speak to them to talk about
Hmm.
other things." I had to do like a bladder diary and that kind of stuff, which was really
Yeah.
interesting. And then so I have like kind of 3 areas that we work on. And I'm actually working on remapping the nerves inside my pelvic cavity at the moment, because
Okay.
I've lost a lot of sensation from just
Yeah.
being in pain for so
Yeah.
long. So
Mm.
we'll talk about pelvic floor exercises, really important. But the other thing is, when you've been in pain for a long time, you can get what's called a hypertonic, I believe, pelvic floor,
Mm.
where it doesn't release, which is what I currently have.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really on. I found a great YouTube channel, by the way, which I will link somewhere, which is a
Mm-hmm.
really lovely Irish lady who does loads of yoga for pelvic floor and for
Yeah.
like vaginismus and endometriosis and PCOS. And it's like little
Okay.
10 minutes sort
Yeah.
of properly relax your pelvic floor, which
Yeah.
I found just epic. But yeah, just a note for physio, it is worth it. And
Yeah.
even if it's a little embarrassing, it's mine. Jodie's a great laugh. If you're watching,
Yeah.
you're
Good.
fabulous. I love you.
Well, I think it's you wouldn't. I don't think you'd be embarrassed to go, because you have to go through the mill, don't you? I think that goes out the window, doesn't it?
Oh,
When
it
you start going to to when you start going to actually go through the system. Yeah, there's plenty of examinations as well, and I think the embarrassment just definitely goes out the window after that as
Oh,
well.
definitely. I've had more
Yeah.
internal exams at this point than, hot dinners really. And it's just,
Yeah.
they kind of go, obviously, they're always very nice. They go, do you want a chaperone? Things like that. If you are nervous, you are always allowed to ask for a chaperone as well. Just
Yeah.
a little note for anyone who is maybe feeling nervous in that sphere. But I
Yeah.
always have a right laugh. I just have a bit of a
Yeah.
chat, you know?
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
it's really like the people, they're there to take care of you. And
Yeah,
the more
that's it,
you
they do.
engage, the more they can
Yeah,
take care of you as well.
that's
Which is,
right. That's
yeah.
it. I mean, and even after surgery and stuff, and don't, even when you're having your surgery, don't be frightened what you say when you're coming around. I was going pole dancing, apparently, as it is, and came off the oxygen. And,
Honestly,
can I go pole dancing now?
I'm quite jealous because I just threw up continuously for 6 hours.
Oh no.
I was so unwell. I told the anaesthetist, I was like, I'm always really sick. And he was like, you'll be fine. And
Yeah.
then I came round and I was like fitting and throwing up. And then they had to resedate me. And I was like, like, it's a family thing. It's not
Oh.
common.
Ooh.
Um,
Mm.
but yeah, and I had such lovely nurses. They were such a
Mm.
laugh. And it was just
Yeah.
me sat up with one of them chatting at like 2 in the morning, feeding me ice chips. And it was really nice.
I was really so I had a really lovely, well, a lovely experience, and that did help my recovery. And it was because I was an NHS patient, but because it was quite, because it was such a severe operation. I was over at the Lister because they had all the equipment there, all the relevant, and the bowel surgeon as well, and everything was there. And so it was like staying in a hotel.
I
It
had the
was,
same, yeah.
and the food was amazing. So that did help. You know.
Yeah, it's quite common actually for endometriosis surgery. So I was an NHS patient, but I was done at the Nuffield in Woking,
Okay.
because I was on the list for too long, basically, and they'd run out of
Hmm.
beds. So they just put me across there. But
They
then they
just put you
said, if you do
across.
need to stay overnight, it's better if you stay here, because we
Yeah.
don't have to like move you or anything. You can just stay. And
Yeah.
they were lovely. They were so, so nice. But even if you have it done, like I have friends who've had it in NHS hospitals and it's been fabulous as well. Like,
Yeah.
you will get the care where is
Mm,
best for you, and the surgical team, no matter where you are, will still be
mm,
very diligent. They'll be very conscientious, and if you've
yeah.
got any questions, tell them.
Yeah.
There is
That's
nothing
it.
they won't have heard either.
Yeah, that's right. That's it. They've seen it, and and heard it so many times before, and that's the reason why we're there in the first place, really, isn't it? It's yeah. So yeah, that's it. So another year, Jess. I can't believe it. That year went
I
really
know.
quick, didn't it?
It
It's
did. And thank you again. Thank you so much for
and thank you for
joining.
having
Thank you for
me.
sharing your experiences. It's so invaluable to hear from someone who really owns everything that they've been through in such a positive way. You're such a light. If anything in this chat has resonated with you, if you're watching, message us. We are here to answer questions. I know your inbox is open, mine definitely is. If
Mhm.
this has prompted you to go and see your GP, fantastic. We are so
Excellent.
happy for
Yeah.
you. We are rooting for you.
Mm.
And I will see you next week with my old school friend and wonderfully very clever biologist, cancer researcher, and future medic, Holly,
Oh,
the mindful
brilliant.
scientist. So
Oh,
we will see you
fantastic.
next time. Thank you so much for watching,
Excellent.
everyone.
Oh, thanks, Jess.